Hi there, welcome everybody. This is Kelly and Joe with Cabin Coffee. We're doing another podcast today with Elaine from Rescue and Redeemed. An important topic, kind of a sad one, but one that provides a little hope at the end. Let's hear more about it. Elaine, tell us what you do and a little bit about Rescue and Redeemed.
So we are an anti-sex trafficking organization. We help women that have been trafficked with trauma-informed therapies. We also provide any type of continuing education for them. We do casework with them, and we just come alongside of them in their daily walk, in their daily lives, and just make sure that they're coming along fine as far as, if they get a job, if they need a job, we help them with their interviews if they need help with that. Some of them have children, and we help them with those therapy services that may be needed for that, because this kind of trauma affects the whole family. So...
You know, it's crazy. So Joe and I have had the opportunity to work with you guys and attend some events. But I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with how prevalent sex trafficking is, especially in this area. Who would have thought? I mean, we live in Eau Claire. Eau Claire's a pretty safe community. Mm-hmm. But tell us about what you see from a local community standpoint.
So a lot of the women have come to us when we've gone to speak in churches, and we're talking local churches. They've come up to us and said, I've been trafficked, can you help me? And that's how we got started into serving these women. And I have found that a lot of rural communities, that they are women that have been sold by their own parents. A lot of times it's because it is so shameful and so hidden, it's not reported. And so that's why a lot of the numbers are down around here, because it's so isolated. There's even been incidences of trafficking. People are ice fishing, and they bring people in there where you wouldn't even think. You would think this is the most wholesome thing, and like you said, Eau Claire, Chippewa Valley, it's a pretty safe community, but behind the doors, lurks the lust of that. And the internet has a lot to do with that. During COVID, there was an increased amount of sexual abuse, child abuse, because of the isolation. And when you're isolated, it's easier to keep those secrets. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Walk us through your journey from how you got into the position you are, and just give us a little background that allowed us to talk to you today and to explain to people your wonderful work that you do.
Sure. Well, my story is I was exploited by my own parent, and I just all of that shame that came from that. And exploitation looks like so many different ways. Some people think it's being taking naked pictures of somebody and putting them on the internet, which is that. But for me, it was my parent making me do something that was illegal when I was only 7 years old. She was a chronic alcoholic and had sent me into a grocery store to steal alcohol. And I just remember having this great big purse filled with these gigantic bottles of Coors, those Coors bottles, and stuffing them into this purse. And I was just this tiny little 7-year-old, and just looking over and seeing the woman at the counter and thinking, why aren't you helping me? And just that like, I must be nothing. I must be absolutely nothing. Why is my mother doing this? Why is this happening? And so just that brokenness from that, just gave me a life of just never knowing that I was okay for who I was. And then just moving on from there, just having God change my life. And I always go back to Isaiah 61, which says, to grant those who mourn giving them a garland instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the mantle of praise instead of a spirit of fainting. So they'll be called oaks of righteousness. And so just having that background of that helped me to work through all of those things. And also, as an adult, I worked in a place where is an institution, a local institution, and I was attacked by a young boy who had been had his duct taped and put downstairs by his own father, and since he was 2, and then continually sexually abused. And so working with these children of these different terrible things gave me that experience of the wanting to want to help. So because of that, I had sustained a concussion, and I came out of that thinking, you know what? After I'd seen these other kids, and these are local. These are not kids that are from Madison or from Milwaukee. These are kids from all of our Chippewa Valley who had been sold for drugs by their own parents, and we know those cases because we've heard a recent case of that. And just seeing that complete brokenness, I just thought, gosh, I need to get off that pew and do something about that. And I just had that in me to do that. And so going back to the story, this young boy, we were just talking about the weather, but because he was so broken, he attacked me, and he threw me down the floor and was punching my head over and over and over again, and I got a terrible concussion. But you know what? Now, a couple years later, I'm thankful that happened to me, because now, because I'm in this work, I know what it's like to be held down. I know what it's like to be totally helpless and not be able to get up and not be able to be free, and just that, like I said, this beauty from ashes, the scripture that I just read, helps a person to know that there's something on the other side. And so that's what really got me into wanting to start this organization, along with my friend Sally, who's not here today, but she wishes she could be. She's with her family. And we just wanted to help these kids, help people. And we just started this organization in 2018, and we didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know how we were going to do it, because our backgrounds are, she was a hairstylist, and then I had this trauma from my childhood, and just a lot of other things that I haven't talked about right now, that just put in my heart that, we can sit there and say, oh, those poor kids, or, oh, I'm so sorry this happened. But if we don't at least try to do something to bring some kind of help, some kind of actual, just actual help, it's very fulfilling to do that. So, yeah.
Wow, I'm just at a loss for words. One, I'm so sorry about what happened to you, but I appreciate you sharing, because I think for others that are listening, maybe they know somebody, or maybe themselves are struggling or need help. And you being vulnerable enough to come on here and share, I just think is so powerful. So what if someone wanted to connect or get involved, either from someone that needs help, or that just simply wants to volunteer?
So we have our website, rescuedandredeemed.org. You can go on the website. There's all of the I forgot what it's called. All the icons, sorry. And you can see where to donate, how to get involved, and how we're trying to get in. We've gotten into the community for the last few years of doing women's support groups. And these aren't women who've been trafficked, but anybody who struggles with not being able to say no, not having healthy relationships, because we find that those kinds of situations can result in the trafficking, which can result in abuse. There's so many avenues to that, along with people who struggle with pornography. I mean, I find that when I start bringing up that word pornography, people become so uncomfortable because they think that it's harmless, and it actually it isn't. It every time you view those things, you violate that person over and over and over again, and not including the child pornography, which is some of the women that we're helping were exploited by pornography videos taken of them when they were little kids. And when you're a little kid, I mean, you don't have any say so. And so why even go there? We found that like 75% of clergy are viewing pornography once a day. It's not unusual. Women as well. And so when you get your mind going on those kinds of things, there's so many roads that can lead down to. And that's what we found. We found that every one of the women that we're helping in some way or another, they were involved in pornography. And one of the young women that she spoke at our event, which we had last Saturday, she had said that she thought it was normal. She was 3, and her dad and her, instead of watching a football game, would watch pornography. And then her brothers would violate her. I mean, really? I
Hmm.
mean, I can't even grasp that. I didn't have good parents. My father was very verbally and physically abusive, but I wasn't sexually abused by him. But I can't imagine that. So I know that is just a little aspect of what leads into this. And we know from looking at history and cases that a lot of the huge serial type killer type people, it was pornography that was the road that led into that. So yeah.
So you were telling us you've had this event last weekend. Tell us
Yeah.
about that. You had a few people actually come share their stories
Yeah.
with the group.
Yeah, we had 3 beautiful women who have come through an amazing transition of going from completely devastated to this trauma-informed therapy that we offer. His name is Dr. Q. He's Dr. Quintil out of Florida, and we got involved with him through Sail of Freedom, who's been around for 12 years. They've been our mentorship program to show us how to set up, how to do staffing, how to do all of that, and they offered their psychiatrist who's been helping these women that we're serving, the 3, and we just watched them transform into that they don't have to be there. It is so amazing. It's so cool to see somebody go from I can't do this to maybe I can, or this is not who I have to be. This is who I can be, and just to see that trans that that transfer take place, and that's the hope, that's the beautiful part. And they told their stories, the 3 women, and then we had a silent auction. 178 businesses donated locally for baskets and things like that, and we had almost 400 people attend. We made almost $20,000, which yay,
Hmm.
yay.
That's great.
So all that money, all of that goes for these services because the as you can imagine, the psychiatrist that specialized trauma therapy, which they use on veterans. It's somebody who's been like extremely traumatized, and what it does is the kind of therapy is it goes straight to you don't have to dig back to, oh, when this happened, this happened. He makes it as data, and so you're not living in that data is over to the side, and he brings you back to the here and now, which I just watched it. I'm telling you guys, it was so cool because we sat with this young lady, the one of them that spoke, and just watched her go from even her shoulders, her demeanor, everything was like a little curled up in a ball, and she went from that to putting her shoulders back and a smile. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome that you're able to actually make a difference in somebody's life. And so that's why we do these events. That's why we help these people, because we honestly and truly believe that they are children of God, and that God has granted us that that ability to do the things that we are to do, to walk in His light. So I'm just so grateful that I have been, that I have the privilege to do this. We also have a clothing drive, which we do every month. We have 5 churches that are collecting clothes, and we're in a business relationship with the local thrift store, and they are. They take all the clothes and they weigh it, and then they cut us a check. Well, the last 2 years we collected 178,000 pounds of clothes.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And that's $2,000 a month that has been the residual income to pay for those services. I mean, like I said before, that trauma therapy is very, very expensive, and insurance doesn't cover it. So, if somebody's not, fundraising for that, it's not going to happen. So,
Well, and it's too bad that insurance doesn't cover it. But
Yeah.
the fact that you do this, even if you help just one person,
oh, yeah, yeah,
it's worth it.
it really is.
How much of a psychological and emotional impact? I mean, obviously, you're hearing very similar to like a soldier or law enforcement who are exposed to these things. Like, does it take a toll on you?
It does. It does. But like I said, my relationship with Christ is what is that hope.
Mm-hmm.
You can take, and I tell people this, and if you're not a believer, it sounds like a foreign language to you. But when you are a believer, it makes sense. And that is, you can take a pill to go to sleep, a pill to wake up, a pill for your anxiety, for your stress. But if you don't have actual hope and that peace that Christ brings and Him alone can bring, you can't go on. I cannot do this on my own. I can't do this in my own strength. And I find that I have renewed strength every single time. Like some of these stories I hear, especially the children, it's heartbreaking, but then I look to the other side and go, there's hope. Yes, this happened. Yes, that took place, but you don't have to stay there. And you don't have to get involved in drugs to pacify yourself. But it's so understandable why they do. It is so understandable. But moving past there, that there's, and you can experience that of, just for instance, if you got a cold and you're sick, and then you feel better the next day, well, then you know that when you're feeling with that cold, you know that you're familiar with how that feels. It's the same way with anything else. It becomes familiar, and you just want to keep going back there. I mean, that's probably not a very good example, but I think you get with the gist what I'm saying. So yeah, absolutely. And I've actually had an appointment with Dr. Q before, and just kind of helped me separate, because I have children, I have a husband, a very supportive husband, and it's like, man, if you can't, it's a big responsibility if I were to say, just like I told you the story this morning, Joe, to tell you that story, I'm laying that on you. Now, that's a responsibility that I took in just sharing these stories. And with my husband, I try to be careful not to share too much, because I don't want to put him there, because he may not be equipped to handle, but I know your background, and I know that you've been in law enforcement and that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
I understand trying to shelter your family and people you love and from the things that you're exposed to. So completely understand that.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone that maybe isn't ready to come forth with the accuser? They're struggling. They might need some help. I think sometimes maybe people are wondering, is this confidential? Like, Where will this go? There's probably a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's absolutely confidential. We abide by all the HIPAA laws. You know, why would we want to smear anybody? You know, why would we want to say, hey, look at this or look at that? Um, and also, when they reach out to us, we find that right away, a lot of them are scared. So then it takes 7 points of contact in order for them to say, okay, I'm ready. And how we do that is like they'll give me their information and they'll say, okay, I want some help me out. And then all of a sudden you don't hear anything. So then I'll text and I'll say, hey, are you doing okay? We're here for you whenever you're ready. And then I'll let some more time go by and then maybe I'll get a response. They'll start to tell me some of their story. And then I'll say, I'll do it again, just knowing that somebody gives a crap, that somebody cares. Hey, for real. I have nothing to gain, nothing. I don't get paid. Most of our people that are on our team, they don't get paid. I mean, our board members said, you guys got to make a little bit to, for gas or whatever. And I said, okay, if you have to. And I'm just saying that I have nothing, I don't make a lot of money and I have nothing to gain. So it's being zealous for the broken, and if you care enough, you will keep it confidential because they've already been exposed. They've already been exploited, so the fact that those girls got up and spoke at our event, that was all of they wanted to. And I was like, okay, I was, and I was a little bit completely humbled by it because I didn't realize how important it was for them that we stuck with them, and I think that's for anybody. If you have a friend and a friend's always going to be there, just like Christ, he's our friend. He's always there. He's never going to leave us. And so we we model that after who Christ is. So yeah.
I'm just thinking about what you said and thinking about, just even friends when you reach out and then you haven't heard from them in a while. And I'm thinking of your 7 points of contact now. And sometimes, life gets busy, but just to have that regular touching base to allow the trust to be built and that relationship to start, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
It is. Commend you for your work because I don't think it's very easy. And just knowing some of the emotional turmoil that I brought home, like it takes a special person to do what you're doing and your team because it's not a comfortable topic. These people are emotionally damaged, and the people that they are supposed to rely on in life, being parents or whoever it is, have let them down to a point where it's very disturbing, so that's quite the emotional toll it must take on you and your people. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you. But once again I say, because I was betrayed by my own parents, I can relate to them. And because of the healing that I've received from the Lord, I want them to feel the same because there's so much freedom in that. That word freedom is, you can't shake a stick at that. It's just, it's like, being in chains, the same thing. It's slavery. It's, when people are oppressed, it's all, all the same thing. So I appreciate that.
Well, anything else that you want to talk about or share? I know we're wrapping things up for today, and I appreciate you once again for coming on and talking about this very important topic. And of course, we're a big fan of you. We'll always be supporters.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you so much. Any last words that you wanted to share before we wrap things up?
I just want to say if you have a desire to help the most broken, and we could use volunteers. I understand, it's so easy for people to volunteer for the homeless or for, drug abuse. I mean, those things are important, but for some reason with this organization, we are having a little bit of a difficult time finding volunteers because it is a hard thing to do. So if anyone out there has a desire to help us, we could sure use the help. We have some admin needs. We have some just volunteer needs for the clothing drive. Like me and my friend, we get out there and we haul those clothes. I'm not young anymore, and we haul those clothes. So just some help and prayer. If you wouldn't mind just praying for Rescued and Redeemed, and just look at our website at rescuedandredeemed.org and just see what we're doing and where we're at. So I appreciate you guys having me. It means a lot too. So thank you.
Well, and excuse me. One thing I do know about this community is that there's a lot of wonderful people that are willing to help. And when we ask, we find that usually they rise to the occasion because it's such a strong community here. So I'll echo your need for volunteers.
Thank
and
you.
Throw it out there so that people can rise to that challenge and help out, especially during the holidays coming up. But thank you once again, Elaine, and thank you for Rescue and Redeemed for all the work that you do.
I appreciate it. Thank you.